So I got a wicked new banjo that I need to review, but it doesn't have a 5th string capo on it. Hey, Chris.
Yeah? What?
You got a 5th string capo down there?
Yeah. Right here. Come on down.
Guitar Stuff with John! Jill got out. Fuck's sakes.
So this is outboard motor coil change time with John and Chris.
Welcome to Butthole Bar tapping with this thing.
Bus bar. Tapping.
Welcome to Tool Chest Organizational Skills with John and Chris. What are we going to organize today, Chris?
Well?
Welcome. Welcome to Guitar Stuff with John and Tech Talk with Chris and John.
All in one.
It's a combo video. Mm-hmm. Now, the reason we're here today is because I have acquired a new banjo.
Yes, sir.
And not just any banjo.
It's a monster.
It's a monster. And it was incredibly difficult to find. I actually waited somewhere in the vicinity of 7 to 8 years for this banjo to actually come into North America, because they're pre-ordered all the time and that's it. They're not a stock banjo. And I happened to call my good friends at Gold Tone Musical Instruments in Florida, and I said, do you have an OB300 in stock? And they went, one just landed here Monday and it's going out. I said, yeah, it's going out to Nova Scotia, Canada. And I bought it, and here it is on its side, prepared for the installation of a Shub 5th string capo.
Our little shub.
So, do you want to go over quickly, Mr. Coot, briefly what the prep was for this? It was a bit of work, but basically we had to find out and mark exactly where this was going to sit on the side here, which we did. We have all the proper drill bits per the instructions of Shub.
Mm-hmm.
Everything's marked. You're about to mask the neck and drill the holes and put her in.
Absolutely. So the difficulty factor changes with the instrument because they're all going to be different, and the hole size that you drill is fairly important depending on which wood the binding is.
Yes.
Or if you're going directly into the fretboard wood from the side. Now in this case we're going to maple binding with some ebony underneath.
And abalone along
abalone along the side, yeah. And we're pretty much, because of our placement, going to be splitting the difference with the hole at the seam of the abalone and the maple.
Yeah.
So we've measured it all, and we've set up some holes, and we're going to start with a number 53 machine drill, which is about 49 thousandths of an inch, that we'll try out on these screws.
Also, I should mention that normally I would have the railroad spike option for my 5th string capo I've used for mostly all my life, but I was able to find one of these amazingly on Amazon, and the reason I bought it is because it's gold. and they're very rare. These are usually made in nickel, and this entire banjo is gold. So I thought, and this is a tried and true. It's one of the best fifth string capos you can use. It probably the best.
Yeah.
And
Actually made of brass, but
it is
gold
made of brass,
gold
yeah.
to match
Matches
the
gold
hardware
yeah.
of the instrument.
So, and I'm looking forward to actually having this installed and going back to this type of capo because, as you know, we've had problems with fifth string spikes. They pull out, they split the fingerboard, they do all kinds of really weird things that you can't count on.
Yeah,
right?
and this offers some adjustability,
It does.
so you can essentially fret that fifth string
Anywhere
at
you
the
want.
ideal spot
Yeah.
for it.
And I should also mention too that this assembly is now shorter by 2 frets than it ever was before, because people just weren't using that many up top.
Right.
You only need 4 or 5, and so this gives you five frets of capoing without retuning, without driving holes in the neck. It's great.
Yeah.
It's my preferred. If this works, it's gonna be killer.
Yeah.
So
So
it's all you now.
we're gonna drill this mofo. Indeed, where are the spots?
Now, one of the things you're going to have to watch out for, I don't mean Chris, I mean you if you're doing this yourself, one of the most important things is the angle of the screw, which obviously needs to be completely 90 degrees straight in. And it's really easy when you look at a banjo neck, if you're not used to working around necks of instruments, to be fooled by the radius of the fingerboard or the curve at the back of the neck. It can play an optical illusion where you think you're going straight in, but you're actually going up towards the fretboard, which is disaster. Because disaster. So,
Disaster.
Chris obviously has been doing this for 100 years, so he's going to go in straight as an arrow, but that's super important, is to get the pilot holes where you're not in any danger of having one of these screws pierce through the top of your fingerboard when it goes in. And to also make sure that you drive these with a jeweler's screwdriver, like uber control, so you make sure that it goes in straight, because it can leave the pilot hole as well. It's really kind of a touchy thing, but this is why I get Chris to do this stuff.
Well, we've got a number 53 drill on a Dremel tool, and we've got our holes taped, so you can narrate, and I'll just do.
Badges the clown.
Patches the clown. Buckles the clown. Yeah.
So he's just rechecking pilot holes here, which he's done probably a dozen times, which is very smart.
Cut 3 times. Cut once.
And you can actually
Cut 3 times and cut once?
If you look here, you can actually see through the masking tape where that hole is, and it's just above the abalone trim, and here the same, just above it. And we actually, the way that we did this was we actually held this on and tested the actual capo mechanism, where it would sit when it was engaged, where it would sit when it was open, how far towards the fifth string peg it would go. Like, we did all that before we found those 2 holes.
I've also got a piece of masking tape on my bit,
To make sure it doesn't go too deep.
or not deep enough, because
Do we know the depth?
it's important that you always go deep enough.
Yeah. Do
Yeah.
we know the depth?
Well, there's the depth of the screw, so we have to go at least the depth of the screw, so that we're not piling up in the bottom of the hole with material.
Right. Okay, so another thing you can look at right here, you can see by this dust, some of it's black, so that means we entered the fingerboard. And out here you can see that some of the maple dust. We also may have touched the abalone, but the abalone is really thin. But we did definitely go into the fingerboard, so that's why it's so important to make sure that hole going in dead straight. Because imagine if this, the bit came up through here.
It's your fancy glasses, Chris. Oh, those bad boys. Ooh, sexy.
He can actually see through people's souls with those glasses on.
So now we're just gonna check this before we do anything, and get a gauge on how that hole size is and whether we need to open it more.
How does it feel?
It feels okay so far.
Maple is really bad for that too, and ebony. It pushes things out. Like it'll push your frets out, it'll push railroad spikes out, and it will do the same with screws. It's alive, so when it gains water, it'll literally squeeze things right out of it, no matter if there's threads on it or not.
Okay,
It's
so I'm
pretty
feeling
promising.
actually like I want to go up in the bottom of the hole, just one more number size.
Why?
Because those are getting a little tight in the hole.
Okay,
So
and that was warned. That was a warning from the.
yeah, that's what's going to end up
Manufacturer.
pushing. That's what's going to end up pushing the binding off
Yeah.
and everything else in the end if we're not correct. So we've already got our number 55 drill here.
Sorry, I was just checking something that was rather
55.
disturbing.
What's that?
The angle of that fist string machine head, but it looks like it's on purpose,
Yeah.
which is very interesting. You can see even more ebony coming out there too. This is another way of us telling that how well it made this banjo is, because it's coming out of there. That's not a piece of wood painted black. That's a real piece of ebony.
Yep. Yep, that feels right. That feels right. All right, so now we can get rid of our masking tape.
Oi.
And we haven't dug anything out.
Yeah, no damage to the trim, which is awesome. Well done, Kuster.
And we can get rid of this Dremel. And we can mount her up, Frederick.
That's a flathead screw, isn't it?
Yeah,
That's interesting.
yeah.
They wouldn't have used a Phillips.
If Shub was Canadian, do you know what kind of screw they would have used?
No.
A Robertson. Yeah,
Oh yeah, right. That's a Canadian
Right.
invention, isn't it?
Horrible
it
invention.
is. You don't like them there, Ginger?
I hate represents.
Why?
They always strip.
Well, only because you don't use the right size driver
That's
for
not
them.
true. I resemble that remark.
That is true. The banjo is singing with expectation
Yes, it is.
as I'm screwing this in.
Works perfect. success. So cool.
It looks fantastic on there.
It does. It matches everything. It's really good. Good job, man. So there we go, boys. There's the OB300 Gold Tone, the very top of the line that Gold Tone makes, and it now has a wicked
Shub.
brass finish shub fifth string capo.
Pretty simple, really.
It was, but it helps to have a tech like this. There's no way around that.
It looks great on the
It
banjo.
does look good too,
It does nothing but add.
and they're fail safe.
Yeah.
So now let's go back to the studio, and I'm going to review this
Give it a
bad
try.
boy. Yes, sir.
Is the beer cold down there?
The beer is cold. You should come
go.
down, and you should just come on down if you feel like it.
Let's go.
All right.
All right.
So there you go, boys. We were just down at Chris's shop. We put on this fifth string capo, and now I'm ready to show you this banjo. This is the Gold Tone OB300, Orange Blossom 300. This is the best, finest banjo that they make. It retails for around $3,500, so it's about the same price as I paid for my Scruggs Standard Master Tone like 15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
So when I saw this banjo years ago in catalogs and online and stuff, and it's never been available. If you went and tried to order this, you could wait years for it because they don't make them that often. And you're
Limited
gonna
release, eh?
yeah.
Yeah.
And you're gonna see why when I play this and show it to you close up. The level of workmanship in this instrument is just absolutely jaw-dropping. The first time I played it, I couldn't believe it. It was just because I thought, I'm going to be honest with you, even though I have had fantastic experiences with Gold Tone, I play one of their Dobros. It's one of the best instrument Dobros I've ever owned, and I thought, okay, it's something that's that ornate. It's probably just ornate,
Right.
right?
Yeah, it's so clogged with
Yeah.
all the features that there's nothing.
Yeah, but not the case with this thing. When I pulled this out of the case, it played like I had set it up myself,
Yeah.
and it's absolutely ridiculous.
It sings when you're talking near
It does. You can't even talk, and it's ringing.
I've never done that one before.
This thing's an absolute cannon. Absolute cannon.
The action on it looks really low.
It
to me.
is. It is low. It's low. It's perfect. Like it's set up for a banjo player.
Right.
And like a banjo player that utilizes the whole neck and does all kinds of weird stuff like I do. It's that's how it's set up. So here's test out our capo. Perfecto. This banjo just screams wants to hear Sally Gooden.
Yeah.
monstrous.
Yeah.
Monstrous.
Great tone.
It does, and it doesn't. I don't even think it has my strings on it. These I think are 9s, and I usually play 10s, and so these are light gauge strings. But I mean, let's take a close look at this banjo, because you have to see this thing up close to understand exactly what you're looking at. Because there's so much going on with this thing that it's hard. It'll go right by you. So let's take a closer look at it. All right, so here we are. This is going to be a bit overkill because it's hard to even describe this thing to somebody. You know, there's so much intricate work done on this banjo. It has a rosewood veneer on the headstock. All gold hardware, of course. There's your gold tone emblem. And look at the abalone work in this. And it's not the horrible, you know, normally Asian green abalone. There's a ton of blue and red abalone in this. The truss cover is mother of toilet seat with abalone. Actually, that looks like an actual piece of mother of pearl, if I'm not mistaken. Gold hardware there, bone nut, and it has a 0 fret, which is an old technique of keeping intonation really good, and it definitely works on this thing. The fretboard is ebony, adorned with this unbelievable tree of life, and bound in maple. It's got super nice everything. Like even that little detail there, that the fret doesn't interfere with the 5th string peg, or the 5th string nut, I should say. And the peg itself, the machine head, is angled backwards ever so slightly to create perfect pressure on that nut. And then there's our capo we just installed. Beautifully done by Mr. Chris. And as you see, you have a mixture of on the inlay of mother of pearl with abalone petals and flowers, right? All the way down, more abalone just there, a little piece. There, a blossom. Then at the bottom, you have this giant vase with the tree coming up out of it. And we should also note that both sides of the neck are bound in maple and abalone. And look at the maple in that thing. Beautiful flame. Both sides of the neck like that. It's a sin to have to cover most of it up with the capo, but I couldn't help it. So there you go. There's that. Now, we're going to go down to the pot assembly. So you see everything here. There's your certificate in there. The OB300 serial number. Everything's done in gold. Everything is engraved. And you can see this engraving is very well done. Each piece of the flange and everything. It's just all in gold, and it's very well done. It's very beautifully done. So the whole assembly is like that. Down here to this custom tailpiece has a antique frosted head, which was tuned to perfection. And here's something that really blew me away. It came with a Snuffy Smith bridge. Now, all banjo players know this is the gold standard for banjos. And look at that. It's even tilted the right way. Look at that. That's just amazing. That takes a lot of work to get that to happen just right. It has to be done for each banjo, right? And, of course, the armrest has the gold tone engraved in that. All the way around. Bang, bang, bang. Right? Now look at this. The entire pot, or the resonator, is bound in maple and abalone, side by side. The entire thing, all the way around. And it is beautifully done. It's just gorgeous. Both sides, look at that. Maple resonator. Now here's where things get just a little crazy. Boom. Look at the back of this banjo. Look at the back of this banjo. Wow. So beautiful. It's just so beautifully done. and I love it. I just love this. This is, to me, is one of the prettiest instruments I have ever seen in my entire life. I am a huge fan of abalone. I love it when it's used real smartly, and this is real smart, how they did this. So you have a combination of real mother of pearl. You can see the way that's lighting up right there. Plastic doesn't do that. That's real mother of pearl, real abalone. And there you go. There's the whole back. Beautiful maple. This banjo is a very bright and projecting tone. There's a real nice heel cap inlay just there. And then up top, we have standard. I'm not sure what the ratio is on these, but standard banjo ratio. They're very smooth, very easy to use. They don't have any dry spots or weak spots or anything like that. And there you go. So it's like you could almost do an entire video of just looking at the banjo close up. But it's truly one of the most spectacular, well-made, good sounding. Like the banjo sounds incredible. I've been recording with this thing, and okay, I played a recording I just did with this banjo for Dave Gunning, and his first comment was, "What is that banjo on this cut?" And he didn't know about this instrument. And I told him, he said, "Man, that's one of the best recording banjos I've ever heard." And it is. It's deep and explosive, has a great D string, and it just has all the right frequencies in the right places. So there you go. There's the OB300 by our friends at Gold Tone. I want to thank them for making this available to me. I did buy it. I bought it full retail, and I don't regret a single dime. And I hope that they like this review, because they make other great instruments, and I wouldn't mind showcasing some of them as well. So there's the Gold Tone OB300, a masterpiece of banjo magic right there, guys. So there you go. You see what I mean? The artisan work on this banjos. Mm-hmm. It's just ridiculous. And it should be, for what this thing is, and we know it's built in an Asian factory. I mean, it should be 3 times this price, but it's not. And I just say, good on you, Gold Tone. Gold Tone is very well known in the world for providing super, super high-end instruments for, very reasonable prices, right? Yeah. And that's what they've done here. Like this, to me, a lot of players will look at this and go, "I don't like all the bling, blah blah blah. It's too complicated." I happen to love this kind of stuff, and it shows up really nice on stage, under the lights. It's a beautiful looking instrument, and it has the sound to go with it.
It's not a gaudy banjo though. I've seen plainer banjos that looked gaudier, because of the way they're constructed and the quality of it.
Yeah, this thing is so well put together and so well thought out. How they appointed it. They didn't just throw shit at the wall and hope something stuck. No. They thought about this, right? Yeah. So there you go. There's the Gold Tone OB300
awesome machine
with Shub brass 5th string capo installed, courtesy of our friend Chris Coote. And so if you're looking for a super, super high-end banjo that's not going to cost you $12,000-$15,000, you're going to be hard-pressed to beat this thing. See you next time on Guitar Stuff with John, or maybe Banjo Stuff with John, or maybe Tech Talk with Chris and John, or maybe
String theory,
or maybe Life and Music, or maybe Chris and John get drunk and fall off the balcony.
or Ginger picks up the pieces.
And yeah, as she always does.
See ya.
Bye.